Good evening again, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of Wrestle Talk Show. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, here to bring you the latest and greatest professional wrestling news, bits, rumors, ins and outs, anything and everything pro wrestling. We cover it here. Special shout out to Justin Prentice again for being the logo contest winner and for helping me with the latest bonus content, an exclusive interview with myself, a 45-minute interview with myself. We talk outside of the realm of pro wrestling, and that interview, as well as every other video, including exclusive bonus content, available at youtube.com/CWE Company. While we're on the subject, feel free, as you guys always do, to visit WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. There you can click on the interactive forums, answer a pre-existing question, pose a new question, submit show-related emails, questions, concerns to cwecompany@gmail.com. Like we always do, we want to thank our audience. Without you, this would not be possible. Without you, this would not be fun. Moving right into what I promised you guys, giving you your ratings for this past Friday night SmackDown. A lot of wrestling news, so get ready for that. WWE SmackDown on Friday, May 13th, dipped a little lower to a 1.69 rating, down from the previous week's year low of a 1.72. Outside of the holiday season at the end of 2012, it was SmackDown's lowest rating on Sci-Fi since October on Halloween weekend. SmackDown averaged 2.6 million viewers, which was dwarfed by the NBA playoffs on ESPN, averaging 4.7 million viewers. At WWE Monday Night's Raw TV taping in San Antonio, WWE announced to the live audience that the October 23rd pay-per-view will be entitled Uprising. The new pay-per-view replaces bragging rights from the lineup, which San Antonio will host. It says last year, but I think they mean next year. WWE has canceled the SmackDown live event that was scheduled for June 6th in Johnson City, Tennessee. Refunds will be available starting Wednesday. Paul Heyman gets great praise for his work with Carwin thus far. UFC fighter Shane Carwin blogged about his experience of being produced by Paul Heyman for the upcoming UFC Countdown show. Quote, the UFC had already had a production crew come to my home to get the footage for the Countdown show, Carwin wrote. Quote, when the fight changed, a lot of questions needed to be redone. Paul was already hired to do the Lesnar side of the Countdown show. So when the fight changed, they asked Paul to come redo my questions. Quote, I did not lead interviews, so if the media is not sure of how to extract the right information, I can come off as, quote, boring. That would be the Heyman difference. Paul was able to let me be me, left the stupid questions out, and we got into some good stuff. I think this is going to make for a great Countdown show. To read the full blog, you can visit Carwin's website at shane-carwin.com. Moving on. Jericho comments yet again on whether his success with Fozzy is holding off his return to in-ring status. Quote, I don't really know where the pressure is coming from. I hear people asking when I'm coming back, and I never said if or when I was coming back. And I'm not sure when that will be. My contract ended in September, and Dancing with the Stars was coming up, and I saw that Fozzy had a lot of tour dates coming up too. It may make a lot of wrestling fans unhappy, but it's making a lot of music fans happy now that we're touring so much. Fozzy has its largest fan base now, more than ever. And with Fozzy, after all these years, is gaining more momentum. And now we're playing with bands like Metallica and Anthrax and Slipknot. And I think people should understand why we're touring and should be proud of me for that. Hogan gets more physical at recent indie show than he has since his return from recent back surgery to TNA. TNA star Hulk Hogan got physical during his appearance at the CWI Independent show on Saturday Brantford, in Brantford. ONT is the abbreviation for the city. Hogan came out at the end of the show to save Brutus the Barber Beefcake from a double team from the Nasty Boys. Hogan came out to Real American wearing his yellow shirt and red bandana. The place popped huge for Hogan when he got into the ring. He tore off his shirt and pointed at both the Nasty Boys for the U-bit, and then he punched one of them to knock them down and threw the other off the ropes to deliver the big boot. He threw a few more punches and tossed Knobs out of the ring while Brutus put Sags in a sleeper for the win. Hogan addressed the crowd and then had a pose down with Brutus. Hogan was way more physical than he was expected to be with the condition of his back. Shortly after this independent show, released today, this afternoon, Tuesday, May 17th at around 4:30 Eastern, Hulk Hogan thinking about an in-ring return, why he thinks it may be foolish, and his potential opponent. TNA Hulk Hogan says his planned in-ring return is a, quote, calculated risk that he believes he can manage by limiting his movement in the ring. Quote, if I do get in the ring, it's a calculated risk. Instead of getting body slammed, someone can hit me in the throat or rake my eyes. Or I could take a bump on the back of my neck and shoulders and not on my lower back, Hogan said in an interview with John Polak on the live audio wrestling show this weekend. Hogan said it's probably not a smart decision to wrestle again, but he misses being in the ring and would like to lock up with Sting again, which is currently the working plan for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view in October. Quote, it's a pretty foolish thing to wrestle after 8 back surgeries, but there's the love for the business. I'm torn between what really makes sense and what I feel, Hogan said. Quote, I'd like to tag with or wrestle Sting. It probably has a lot to do with ego, so it doesn't make a lot of sense when you ask the question, but it's a consideration. But it's a consideration for me at this point. After Raw went off the air, there was an end of the night dark match. After Raw went off the air, it wasn't believed that there would be a dark match since The Miz was wearing a suit. But sure enough, him and Alex Riley came back. Miz took off his jacket and shirt and wrestled in his dress pants and shoes. The end came when The Miz attempted to hit John Cena with the pole seen earlier, but Cena ducked and got The Miz with the AA. After some celebrations, Cena pulled a grandfather who was in his military uniform and his grandchild into the ring to take a few photos. Then Cena grabbed the camera from one of the photographers and took a picture with the guys in the front row that were wearing referee shirt. TV executive comments on how long TNA's rebranding is in the works and discusses recent industry trends. TNA's Impact Wrestling marketing campaign has picked up mainstream coverage by TV industry publication Multi-Channel News, which obtained quotes from TNA's marketing officer Al Ovidia. Ovidia said TNA will launch, quote, several 30-second on-air and web spots featuring TNA stars like Ric Flair discussing wrestling's impact on them. Although not mentioned in Multi-Channel's reports, these are spots that have already begun airing in local markets during commercial breaks on WWE programming. Ovidia added that TNA's rebranding has been in the works for 1 year. Ovidia discussed what what has been apparent that TNA decided to launch the rebranding in response to WWE's, quote, new WWE initiative. The timeline matches up since TNA had internal discussions dating back to last year about how to rebrand the company and whether to drop TNA from the name of the company completely. Multi-Channel's report includes information from TNA and Spike TV's press release on Monday announcing the rebranding, which includes the misleading ratings information that Impact's ratings are up 9% through quarter one in 2011 compared to the same period in 2010. It does not account for Impact moving to Monday nights during quarter one of 2010, where TNA failed to draw above a 1.0 rating. WWE CFO gave an updated presentation yesterday, what they're calling Project Evergreen. It promises new storylines. Triple H plays a role, and they discuss questions addressed and not addressed in the quarterlies last week that we reported on. WWE CFO George Barrios covered several WWE business topics during a presentation Monday at the J.P. Morgan Global Technology Conference. The following are highlights of Barrios' comments. Barrios discussed throughout the 35-minute presentation the importance of WWE's forthcoming TV network, which he described as a potential, quote, game changer for the WWE. Barrios said the current plan is to roll out a formal TV network in some form within the next 12 to 18 months after the groundwork is taken care of internally. Barrios said one aspect is ready, digitalizing their video library, which they are calling Project Evergreen. Barrios noted it is taking some of their $4 to $5 million capital expenditure investment to develop new filmed content for the network. The other aspect is continued discussions with potential TV partners to establish the look and feel of a network. Barrios noted WWE first announced plans to roll out a TV network. The plan was a traditional TV network model, but massive changes to the media industry have led them to rethink a potential hybrid model. This was covered during WWE's first quarter conference call last month. Regarding current talent issues, Barrios described WWE's mindset as, quote, one step back, two steps forward, trying to establish new stars in light of recent retirements and injuries over the past 12 months. Barrios acknowledged the last 9 months has been a, quote, headwind which they've experienced on pay-per-view and live events. He noted those business segments which are, quote, more transactional in nature are most affected, quote, if people are making a decision and the storylines are a B plus instead of an A. That might be affecting business, he said. Barrios gave a formal description of Triple H's new role in the talent department. He essentially broke down Hunter's role as a liaison between new talent and TV production, trying to bridge the gap as a talent coordinator and developer. Barrios also addressed what he described as a common misconception that WWE's business is weaker than when many people were fans 10 years ago. Barrios said that WWE brand tends to be, quote, very personal in that some people think WWE was big when they were when they were a fan, and now it's not as big because they're not a fan. Barrios claimed WWE's business is just as strong, if not stronger, than it was 10 years ago, which could be defended due to WWE's diversifying their revenue streams to make up for losses in the core business. Barrios said the international markets in key countries like Russia, China, Brazil, and India will be, quote, a big part of WWE business in the next 3 to 5 years. Barrios noted WWE's board of directors decided to cut the dividend as a part of the new WWE initiative. He said WWE was paying out 160% of cash flow under the previous dividend policy, and the new policy will be a 70% payout, giving the WWE more flexibility to run the business. Guerrero said the previous policy was decided under the previous management and board of directors makeup. So new decision makers reviewed the policy and made an appropriate decision to slash the dividend. I guess we'll pose our question for the day, and that would be, what do you make of all this? We reported last week when we reported the quarterly earnings that I said that WWE would be able to ride this restructuring with finances for the next 6 to 12 months, because you never really know. First of all, because we never really knew the impact, we didn't know it was really going to impact first quarter 2011 until a few days before, well, a couple of months, I want to say right before fourth quarter 2010 was released. A couple weeks before that, this all started coming up, and I think I could be wrong, but I think the misconception was that it was only going to be affected for a quarter, and that's where I sort of made the joke last week that we don't know, and it's actually serious now as more develops. We don't know exactly how many quarters, how much money it's going to take to make this change flush again to where WWE doesn't have to move things around. But do you think that's a better move for the company? Basically, they've gone from 160% payout to a 70% payout, which I don't know why they weren't doing in the beginning. It seems a little excessive to be overly paying your investors, especially when, and what brought it on is for the last 2 years, certain areas of the business have been affected financially and with industry and market trends. So for the last 2 years, they've been paying out the same amount regardless, when you would think just by default, okay, the 1 year the company's making more than enough money, we can overpay you, but you'd think that if they started to see their losses, that would have been the first thing that they cut just by a little bit to kind of do what they should have been doing anyway and what investors called for. They want long-term potential for the company. And you'd think that all businesses by default would run like this, and most do. You'd think that WWE wouldn't have to be told, hey, pay us less so you can put more back into quarter-to-quarter operations. That should be a given. If you make the money to pay your investors, that's one thing. But when you've been losing money for the last 2+ years, you'd think that along with the talent, the spring cleaning that we commented on, everything else that WWE does to cut revenue, pyro, reduction on their pyro, small things like that, they would take these given things as a way to save money and not have to be told. But that's just do you think it'll help? And I guess the question is, with all this, do you see with the programming, the asset rearrangement and the payouts and all that other stuff facing WWE, do you see it here 10 years from now? And that's even taking into consideration Triple H's potential inevitable running of the business. So it might be a dumb question, but do you see it here in the next decade, and why? And what do you think Triple H's role will be? Post that on the forums, WrestleTalkShow.com, WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. Click on the forums button. While you're there, click on support the show. You can donate to the show and its production quality and little things that we want to do for you, including prizes, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show. Special thanks and congratulations to Justin Prentice, the logo contest winner and Wrestle Talk Show viewer and fan. Again, while you're on the site, donate as little or as much as you want via PayPal. We understand economic hardship, and sometimes better than cash is a referral. If you like what you hear, if you like both sides of your wrestling, if you like the fact that your wrestling is completely interactive, we ask that you refer a friend. while you're on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CWE Company. Take this time to watch this video and every other video dating all the way back to our debut almost a year ago. We have our 1-year show coming up. We're looking for columnists, answers to the question of the day just proposed. Submit the columnist request. We're looking for people to cover. I've got somebody that can cover Raw, so I'm looking for SmackDown coverage. I guess we'll do NXT just to throw it in there. If it's still on the air and somebody wants to cover it, it's via WWE.com once a week. So that's completely up to you. I need somebody for SmackDown, NXT, Tough Enough, and monthly pay-per-views, and that can be different people month to month. You can do a written blog and submit it to me, and I'll kind of factor your blog into the video discussion for whatever pay-per-view is closest or whatever you cover. Or you can record your own video and I'll post your point of view in with this video to make it a longer piece of material. It's entirely up to you. I can read it long form, or you can record your own video, and when I'm editing the show, I can just throw your video in there and say, for example, I have 20 minutes of material, you have 20 minutes worth of coverage, there's a 40-minute show, and I can mix around my stuff so the show comes full circle by the end of it. But submit anything you'd like, wrestling or related, or if there's more questions for our behind-the-scenes bonus content, submit anything and everything to cwecompany@gmail.com. And as Raw happened last night, the ratings won't be until later tonight, but you can look forward to them. And again, where you can see the most up-to-date information regarding the show outside of our website, sometimes before even our website, is facebook.com/CWE Company. And once this video is uploaded, it will, within the next hour to 2 hours, post directly to Facebook, or you can visit our YouTube channel. We have corrected that mistake, and the videos within an hour or two of being posted to YouTube are finally once again automatically being posted to Facebook. So check us out. I frequent Facebook more than I frequent Twitter, but we're on both at CWE Company. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that's your wrestling news for the night. We'll have Raw ratings later tonight and a recap. And I'd like to say that we'll be doing that show by Thursday afternoon. And until next time, guys, thanks for everything. Hope you enjoyed the show.